Welcome, happy Sunday. How is everyone? Welcome to another weekly live stream. Let's take a look at the market together, guys. Let's see where the opportunities are for next week, which is going to continue to be a busy week with some news, CPI in the US, ECB, Bank of Canada as well announcing another interest rate, which at this point we are still expecting all the rates to be unchanged. But yeah, looking ahead for another busy week. How was your week, the first week of April? You guys having a good start of the month, the QT as well. If you are new, of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. I'll try as much as possible to actually to finally get some and to increase the channel to get 1,000. So yeah, if you are new, feel free to subscribe and to like as well and ask any questions. Okay, so basically what you're going to do is take a look at the different markets between FX, commodities, indices, and a little bit of crypto as well. So if you do find any levels that you are looking for, feel free to share, and you're going to analyze them together. That's the main goal. If you do have any more specific question about, I don't know, any setups that I'm looking for, or if you don't understand some of my analysis, feel free to ask also. Ask. Okay, so let's get started. All right. So dollar index. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at the news. Okay, so this week, as I mentioned, we are going to have New Zealand, Canada, and the Eurozone announcing their interest rates, which at this point, as I mentioned, are expected to remain the same. Only maybe summertime, we are expecting the ECB to maybe start cutting the rates, same as the Fed. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to always pay attention to the press conference from Christine Lagarde in here. Last Friday, we had another strong non-farm payroll. Again, it was a little bit of volatility in the market. So 300k new jobs again. So that's interesting. So it continues to be quite resilient, the labor market in the US. In terms of the rates at this point, actually, so the high probability is to expect the rate cut or the first rate cut to occur in June, but the odds have been decreasing, as you can see. So again, 1 month ago it was at 57, last week it was at 55, and now it's at 50, which is one of the first times it's actually around 50. Okay, there's been a little bit of a few comments between some of the Fed members saying that maybe just expecting maybe 1 or 2 rates and maybe to start closer to Q3, not exactly in the summer. Fed Powell spoke as well, if not mistaken, last week on made some commentaries after the core PC, so it was either last 1 week ago or on Monday, that yeah, at this point it's kind of going in the same trajectory, or at least what the Fed is expecting. I'm talking about the CPI and inflation. So yeah, we'll see. Again, the CPI data is going to be quite interesting and important to see what's going to happen in here. And we had plenty of moves. Okay, so there's plenty of volatility. I think the market is in a really good phase to look for plenty of trades, opposite to maybe what happened in the beginning of this year. In January, in February, it was a bit choppy, especially the FX and especially the dollar pairs. There was maybe some other opportunities in the indices and commodities and crypto as well, but for anyone that's just trading, especially the major FX pairs, it was a bit choppy. January and February. In March started to open up, and now April it continues as well. Quite interesting, with plenty of volatility all over the place. So what are we expecting for this week? Okay, first and foremost, we need to kind of review a little bit what happened last week to start making predictions for the week ahead. And this is what we had, like, so we had a big push to the upside. We were looking for price, as I mentioned last week, to take these highs after basically price reacted quite nicely from this level during the FOMC, then continued to move higher. And as soon as it starts breaking these levels, I was hoping and looking for price to actually go above these highs. Now, what I was not expecting is actually for price to just turn straight away after that, even though, as always, anytime we do have some fake out of an important level, there's always a chance for price to retrace after that, okay? Because there is plenty of orders waiting somewhere in here. Now, this level in here, personally, on the dollar index doesn't really mean that much to me, okay? Maybe there is a little bit of a zone of maybe some kind of demand zone in there, but personally, doesn't really mean that much to me in here. Therefore, I'm eventually expecting this dollar index to resume and to move higher. Okay, there was already this confirmation when you had the break of these highs in here. Okay, so we had this break to the upside. That was back in February, and then you kind of moved down, but that was already the first thing we were looking for. Now I had a little bit of a continuation in here. Okay, so yeah, interesting. And eventually I'm looking for the dollar index to get a bit closer to this level in there. Okay, so that's a little bit of the trajectory what I'm looking for, the dollar index to close the space towards there. However, in the lower time frame, the lows that were created actually on Thursday, in my opinion, they are kind of a little bit of an engulf to the downside, which means that in the bigger picture we may kind of look higher, but in the lower time frame we may go a little bit to the downside, which has been a little bit of that sentiment as well on the dollar index several times in the last few weeks, which means that there is a little bit of open space for both sides of the side in here. Because we did manage to fake out this level. There's a small zone in here if you consider this week as well. That's basically where price actually ended up reacting to. If you check in the lower time frame, that's actually where the dollar index end up reacting in there. Okay, there is actually this demand zone in here. If you want to draw it, that's the one that this low never really reacted from it, but now the new lows actually end up reacting, and it's also in alignment with these previous highs in here, which is basically the beginning of this compression. So that's always a good level to expect price to react from. But in the bigger picture, in the bigger spectrum, it can actually be an engulf down. Okay, so as you can see, that's basically where this dollar index actually ended up reacting from, and that zone. And yeah, and that was basically it went all the way up, now reacted from this nice level, and now kind of retraced all the way back to the origin of this NFP move in here. So what to expect next, right? That's the question. What can you expect from the dollar index in here? Okay, so as I mentioned, again, bigger picture, I'm still looking for a potential continuation to the upside until price may get closer to this level in here. But on the lower time frame, we do have actually this low, which can actually be a little bit of a move to the downside in there. Even though, yes, it did respect maybe something in there, but bigger picture, that's basically an engulf as well to the downside, which can eventually push price a bit more closer to here, or even in here as well. Okay, this level is quite good as well to potentially look for a trade in here on the dollar index. But most importantly, I'm curious to see how price is going to open tonight and tomorrow, in terms of to see if we do manage to break below this zone in here or not created during the NFP, or if you do manage to break below it, or if you hold it and price actually continues and eventually starts moving to the upside. Okay, so this demand actually, in my opinion, can be quite interesting. In here, price initially starts to hold it and start moving a little bit to the upside. It was the same thing on the pound dollar, it was the same thing on euro dollar, and so on. So this level can be quite interesting in here. Is there anything else in here that I would like to see price, or can I expect price to react from? Not so much. Let's just check on the higher time frame. Not sure about that one. Is there anything in here that stands out? Maybe this, yeah, maybe closer to the lows. If we're about to look at that, start that compression. This level maybe still be fresh, to be honest. In here, so if by any chance price does want to go, maybe price can still eventually break out that level, get a reaction from here. Yeah, it looks like it's one of the last fresh levels in here on the dollar index. So yeah, first and foremost, let's see if price does manage to break below that, and then this will be the next one. Otherwise, price will just respect this breakdown side and go towards to the next zone somewhere in here, if not even there. If price just keeps holding in here, I'll not really be looking for any sells from the highs, and I'm just looking for the dollar index to continue to push higher and now respect this move in here that we had to the downside in there. Am I expecting any sells in here? Again, it looks like it has been quite compressed already on the way down. Again, this exercise is quite simple to do. Okay, I've shown a few examples. Just literally look at the extreme. There's usually kind of 2-3 levels that you can look for price to react from. Okay, and one of them, it's always the base of this level. Basically, just look at where was created the last low that created the last high. So that will be one of them. Okay, so whatever level is around this level in here, did price reacted from it or not? Basically, it reacted already in there. At least there's a touch in there and maybe a few in here. So this is not exactly fresh. Price already retested a few times. Another one need to be maybe the supply that actually managed to break below these lows. Sometimes these two are in alignment. At this point, maybe this is the level that actually is still a bit fresh in here. And then the last one is actually the origin in here at the highs in this level. Okay, usually it's actually in alignment with the left shoulder in here that is kind of the last high in here that creates, and then you have the fake out. Okay, so usually it can be somewhere in alignment with that, which may have already been touched or not. Again, question mark with these highs. Otherwise, there's maybe something here. And we're looking at the 5 minutes. Okay, as you change time frames, this can change a little bit between which one is still fresh or not. There's a lot of compression here, a little bit of fresh this level, and then maybe, yeah, somewhere in here it's basically also maybe that one at the extreme. But yeah, at this point, because this is already actually the break to the of that high on the left, you can just carry on going higher. But that level looks actually still fresh in there, which is again the same thing in here. Okay, price basically just reacted from the base of the level. The supply maybe has already been touched within this rectangle in there, and then the extreme looks like it's already been touched as well by these two in there. So yeah, you can just carry on doing that exercise as price moves along, and anytime you have a little bit of this kind of flags or whatever you want to call it. So yes, going to be just paying attention, but eventually expecting price to go higher if you do manage to kind of start making new highs above this level, especially if you do respect this on in here as well. Yeah, that's going to be something to pay attention to. Again, there's going to be straight away a big news on Tuesday, which is going to be the CPI. I think it's Tuesday, right? No, it's Wednesday. So Wednesday you're going to have the CPI, and then on Thursday straight away you have ECB, which again can create some volatility on the dollar as well because of the euro dollar in here. So that's going to be an interesting one to look for as well. If you do have a bias that you want to share on the dollar index, feel free to share. And if you have a specific level that you are looking for, feel free also to comment. Ramat, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Happy Sunday, man. Do I use market structure? What is market structure, man? There are so many names for so many things. I look at simple stuff: supply, demand, support, resistance, gaps, and most importantly, I look at space that is available in the market to look for opportunities. That's the most important thing for me, is space available. The space creates a target, and the target gives me a reason to actually look for a trade. So market structure, yeah, I don't even know what exactly that means. Can mean many things. sorry for my reply, man. Yeah, just simple stuff. That can look complicated sometimes. Yeah. If you want to be more specific with the question, yeah, follow up, and I will try to answer it better. Can maybe delete some of these rectangles in here. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, that's nice. All right, the next one that usually we look for. Okay, so let's go with the euro index. Now let's go with the indices first, and then go into the euro index to go into the euro dollar in here. And these are the indices, which can be quite interesting. All right. Again, we had a big rally since the end of October until now. That's basically, if you look at it, it's around 30%, at least on the S&P, I think. Yeah, 28%. I think on NASDAQ is like 31. It's a big rally. Okay, and we may be close to potential retrace in here. Okay, and even if you do retrace anywhere closer to these previous highs, which actually is a great level to look for a potential trade. Now we do have a few levels in here that are still fresh, so price can actually still pause in there. But if you are looking even for a retracement like that, we are looking for something like is it what, 8% retracement, 7%, which is not bad. Okay, maybe if you put a Fibonacci in here, is around maybe 30%, 31 or 32.8 Fibonacci, whatever it may be. Okay, and that's going to be an interesting one. Okay, it's going to be quite an interesting one. Now we had a big drop on Thursday, and then we recovered a little bit with the NFP. Okay, so basically the lows managed to hold price, and we moved to the upside in here. Something that I like about this situation is that this level in here is actually still fresh on the S&P. At this point, the highs are still fresh. Price only reacted from the zone underneath and not exactly from the extreme in there. So that level is still fresh. And we still have definitely this level in here created during during that drop on Thursday that price can still respect in there. Now, is this an engulf down on the S&P? Are we looking for price to finally start looking for a further move to the downside? Maybe. This was one of the last demands that was still fresh, to be honest. Aside from here, that one has been taken already. This is already a break of that low. Then a little bit in here, but it's just the extreme because the upper zone of that level, it's already been taken. So that's already kind of weak. The price can continue. This one is already been taken as well. And all of a sudden we start looking for the S&P to go all the way closer to this level. Okay, so this is potentially a target to look for, and then you can look for this one next. Again, something in here can still hold. But yeah, eventually somewhere closer to this 5,000 mark again as a potential target in here. Okay, so that's a little bit of a level that you are looking for on S&P, depending of course how price may react from here. I would have turned a little bit more bearish if we actually had managed to even fake out the low and then go higher. If we had done that, usually those lows are kind of breaking the lows before going up. It's a kind of a strong engulf, showing the indication that where price wants to go, but we did actually manage to respect the lows. So yeah, it's just again something that I am registering and paying attention to in this process in here. But this is actually again one of the last demands in here. Price hold it on NASDAQ. Also, price respected the low, so there was still not that bigger break of a low that we were looking for. There was one middle zone, price respected, went down and respected the other one. So that's what we have at this point. Now in here, definitely there's levels in there that you can look for. Okay, and let's see if price even goes all the way until there, because you do have also this zone that can hold price a little bit as well, and you just paused just underneath that level, which usually can be quite interesting because you may use this high to create some liquidity to continue to move to the downside in there. So that's something to pay attention to. But then we have this one, and you still have that one in here that is still fresh as well. So we basically have at this point even this one in here as well. Of course, this is the full zone in here to look for. So that's a little bit of what we have on the S&P. Is price going to is price even going to respect is price even going to respect something here? Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how price may react between these two zones at this point. Are you breaking the lows? Are you just continuing? And then depending on how price may react from these two levels, can be interesting to look for a short in there. So let's see if we have continuation a bit more to the upside, and if you start showing indication of any bearish type of indication, again maybe compression, maybe start breaking lows, that can be interesting. And then by Thursday as well, not Thursday, Wednesday, that's going to be interesting. And we also have the beginning of the earnings season on Friday. So again, that's another big catalyst to look for in here to start creating more liquidity or more volatility into the indices at this point. Underneath at the lows, am I still looking for any buys? Not really sure. Yeah, not really sure if I would be looking for anything in there. There's maybe this level is still fresh, not really like anything in there. Yeah, now on 1 minute, that's kind of the curious part in here. But in alignment with this level, so this was a decision point to break to the upside, and price didn't really respect it on the way down. Price kind of should have paused and go higher. It didn't, so there's maybe something in there that price can react from a little bit. Then you have the other one, which is even better, and at the highs, price maybe already reacted from. Maybe they have this extreme level in there. This one can be interesting. Yep, that one can be interesting. Already reacted. We have that one as well. Yeah, so that's a little bit of the S&P. Which NASDAQ is going to be similar. I want to see it going a little bit higher, and then you'll see. And then you'll see if there's going to be those shorts. Because NASDAQ, this was the one. Okay, NASDAQ actually managed to slightly fake out the white twist on this server. We did manage to take this low slightly, but just reacted from the level. Okay, so I have been trying to look for those sells on NASDAQ. In here, we already had one break in there, didn't break, broke again. So starting to show to demonstrate quite a little bit of engulfs to the downside. And just similar to S&P, we may have a little bit of retracement that you could look for. And at this point, again, it's around 8%, nothing special after this 30% rally that we have since the beginning of November. Okay, so that's a little bit of what we have. Again, I was still looking, or kind of, in my opinion, the highs are still fresh. Okay, so we have been managing to pause just underneath this level, and it was a good level actually where price reacted. That was one of the last supply levels in here that was still fresh, and price did reacted from it, and then it dropped. Again, this was Thursday, but the highs in here, they are still good for me. But I would like to see these lows being taken. Okay, this is one of the last levels in here that needs to be taken in here. Okay, as long as this level kind of keeps holding, there's still the chance for price to just continue and even create new highs in here. This has been the range that I'm looking for. This was the engulf that I mentioned. This was during the middle of the week. We did manage to break below this low, this demand zone, so we're looking for shorts after we saw that one. Even though S&P didn't break the demand, NASDAQ did. So this is again another way to use the correlation, and it's not just using correlation and looking for prices or the assets to move in the same direction. You can actually pay attention to the clues that one gives and maybe the other one doesn't. Okay, and the levels themselves as well. So yeah, that one was a good one, a nice short. It was again, I was not expecting this one, and it actually tricked me a little bit. The move on Thursday. After such a big rally that we had during the week, and even on the FX as well, for the NFP was starting to be super bearish. Okay, but then in the evening on Thursday you had this big drop. This was what I was expecting to happen during the NFP, to be honest. But it didn't. Apparently it happened a few hours before that. It was in the evening, and when you had that big move, not just in the indices and the FX as well, and so on and so forth, which then made it a little bit tricky to trade the NFP in there. It is what it is. But yes, it's still within the same range. Okay, so I was bearish. I've been looking for price to move down. In my opinion, this low was not really reacting from the final zone. Then you had the break of the low, but now it closed range. So now it's wait and see. Okay, so I was bearish. I've been looking for price to move down. In my opinion, this low was not really reacting from the final zone. Then you had the break of the low, but now it closed range. wait and see what's going to happen in here. Dow is more of the same. It did manage to break that level, but these are a little bit of lows. But this actually can be an interesting low because this one actually made that move to the upside. So it starts maybe to demonstrate a little bit of a bearish sign. Even though if we do break below these lows, I think I turn even more bearish if we do manage to break below that level. This was still a fresh demand zone, just underneath all these lows. It was valid, price respected, and now interesting to look and to see what price may do in here. This Dow and the S&P, they are quite similar in terms of the move that happened in here. Okay, in terms of this move down, this fake out, and the move to downside. Okay, but then we have a little bit of a difference in here because Dow and S&P created this same level, and Dow only reacted from just, it was enough, reacted from here and moved down, but S&P already reacted from this zone in there. Okay, so that's still a fresh level on the Dow that you can pay attention to in here, somewhere in there. And then you have the extreme, the highs. In my opinion, they are both still fresh, both on the S&P and the Dow. Okay, that's just again looking at the levels to see which ones they're respecting one time and kind of which ones they are still fresh for the future in there. So yes, but it closed the gap as well. So if you do manage to break below that low, that can start opening the door. This is already kind of an engulf down for me. So eventually price can go all the way and come here, where actually in reality can go all the way towards this level in here. Okay, can maybe close all this gap in here, and that will be a really nice target eventually to look for the turn in here. And maybe this week with the CPI, who knows, or then eventually with the earnings season as well to start. It's going to be an interesting one to follow. This one doesn't really provide much data. Yeah, this one's a bit more. Yeah, then you can also retest that level, and if you are looking for that, how much percentage will that be? Yeah, again, around 8%, like 7%, 8%, whatever. It's somewhere around those numbers that we can look for the drop in here. So that's going to be an interesting one. Again, there's maybe still some levels in here that are fresh, not expecting just price to completely crash, but if you do break below this low, in my opinion, it could clearly opens the space for price to go like this in here. And it doesn't need to happen just like this. Can actually break this low, can actually go all the way, and then maybe react from there and then make the move. That will be even better. But we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. And then DAX. Yeah, DAX was a pity. I was looking for the shorts on the DAX. I've been looking for those shorts even the week before this one. And then we had the bank holidays. Basically, it was closed. And yes, it started to create a really nice PI. The compression was quite clear. But unfortunately for me, price never really retraced. After it made this fake out, never really come back to this level where I usually try to look for a trade. It only reacted then from the lower base of this level, and yeah, then after that it crashed. But since this one was still fresh, I was still looking for, hoping for price to actually go there before the move down, especially after kind of price broke these lows in here as well. In there, so yeah, not exactly the setup. Like it was these highs that I would like it to see going a bit higher in there, or at least these ones as well. None of them went there closer to this level, so yeah, and then price just respected this level in here and it dropped, and you had the kind of the sell-off on the DAX, which was something that you were already looking for. And the reason for that is literally just the compression that we could see. Again, the P8 was quite good. That happened the Friday before that, or Thursday. And yeah, that was a really nice move. And in here as well, kind of a bit unlucky. I was looking for price to get now closer to this level, and it just stopped in there and it moved down as well. Nice literally, a nice approach toward the zone. The compression was quite notorious, but again, kind of left that level behind for the future once again. Meanwhile, it closed a lot of the gaps that you're looking for, because you're looking even, yeah, everything in here was compressed. There was a little bit of a zone in here. Price paused a little bit in there. There was this level as well that price reacted from. Talk about this one in here. You can see the gap between these lows and that level. And then besides that, everything is compressed on the way down until we start getting closer to here. Okay, all this zone is compressed. We have in there, and then eventually we can even go a bit more to the downside. We'll see now what's going to happen in here, but I still like the levels at the high. So whenever DAX decides to retrace towards this level, that can still be an interesting level to look for a short. And yeah, what is eventually the final destination in here? That's a good question mark in here. I can start debating some of this stuff. Yeah, are we going to retrace all the way to this highs? Not really sure. Don't really need it. It needs to go all the way. Yeah, but somewhere in here, maybe there's a little bit more of a room to the downside on the DAX in here. At this point, we start creating a little bit of this range. May fake out a little bit, may go down, and then maybe still respect this level and go higher. We do have basically this demand zone in here that price ignored on the way down, so that can still hold a little bit and go. And yeah, then eventually going to go a little bit more to the upside, and then you'll see how price may react somewhere in there and in there. And of course, the approach towards the zone is always important to pay attention to in here. Yeah, that's for the indices. So NASDAQ at this point is within the range. The other ones, maybe there's more room to the downside in there as well. So, and even with NASDAQ, something that we can pay attention to is to look at NVIDIA as well. Okay, because a lot of the rally on the NASDAQ has been caused by NVIDIA. So this is going to be an important range in here. You can even maybe use this low as well as a reference. No, not this one, this one. Yeah, so we can use this low as a reference, because if NVIDIA by any chance does break below this level, it can open the door for a big move to the downside, which can just be the catalyst also to give an extra confirmation for NASDAQ to move down. Okay, had this big upper trend line, price kind of broke it a little bit, but still respected this low, so that's still important in there. And basically we are like this. Okay, so that's going to be an interesting one to pay attention to. Okay, maybe price can just respect this level at this point and maybe move down, or if you start breaking above it, then you can start challenging the highs again. There's maybe this level at the highs that is still quite interesting, even though we do have a double top. So it's always a tricky one, but you can just fake out this level. That level is still fresh, somewhere in there, expecting some reaction that can be reasonable. And it could actually happen something like that. It would be quite interesting if you do go break below this low, start giving the signal that you want to go lower, then maybe respect this level in here. We could go higher after that. Okay, could go higher after that, and then you can fake out all this level in here, and then we could do something like that. Okay, and then just move down, or even fake out this size one more time and move down after that. But if you do break below that level, I think many people are going to be looking at that as a potential reversal in here. And yes, because of how important NVIDIA has been for NASDAQ, that can be the catalyst as well for NASDAQ to start that retracement in here. So that's going to be, again, it's an interesting asset to pay attention to, just to look at maybe what NASDAQ may do. All right, so Euro Index. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, even in terms of the indices, any specific level that you are looking at. If you are bullish, if you are bearish, what do you think that's going to happen? Yeah, feel free to share. Euro Index. That's going to be one of the most important assets to pay attention because of the ECB, right? So again, paying attention what's going to happen in here can be quite interesting. Since we had the last meeting, when was it, by the way? Seven March. Okay, we are already within this range in here. All right, nothing special. Okay, so we have been bullish, right? As you remember, we cover all this level in here, so we kind of predicted exactly to the pip, basically all this reversal, and since then you start being bullish, and we already noticed that in move upwards, and this level needed to hold, and it held. So since then we start being bullish, and now we are paying attention to this compression in here, okay? And at this point the final target, or kind of where I'm looking eventually for the Euro Index to get to, is a bit closer to this range, and this will can also already be considered a little bit as such as well, okay? It's a good level for price to bounce and eventually start turning in here, okay? And eventually the target that you're looking for is going to be looking at this low in here. At this point, of course, we first still have this one to pay attention to, but eventually we can go all the way and feel this in here. Now, on the lower time frame, we start finally having a few lows in here being broken as well, and in my opinion, this low may have not really reached the final zone, which maybe it was in here. So there's a little bit of a gap in here, a little bit of a spice, which is also good to see that price can still go and fill. And I like this level, right? So we start having these highs, we fake out that level, we broke a little bit into this level in here, and you may have this zone in here on the Euro Index, sorry, that you can react from and start pushing lower. And at this point, maybe just even retest something in here, even though price actually already reacted from this level in here, to be honest, because this level is already reacted from these lows in there. Yeah, this was already reacted from that zone of that level. This is upper edge of this demand zone, which is already reacted from. All right, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, but again, Euro Index, I'm going to be curious to see how this one's going to react from here, which can lead to sales on the Euro pairs. Again, Euro Index, just once again, it's not 100% just correlated with Euro Dollar, okay? Sometimes this one is maybe moving a bit higher, and Euro Dollar is not so correlated. It's also correlation with the Euro Yen, Euro Aussie, Euro Pound, and Euro CAD, and so on in there. Otherwise, if you go a little bit higher, yes, you may get a bit closer to this level. If by any chance we just completely break this level in here and you start getting closer to that level, especially on Thursday is going to be quite important to pay attention to see where Euro Index is, just to try to predict what to expect from the ECB, okay? So that's something to pay attention to. We don't really have a proper engulf to downside in here, but we may have a little bit of a reaction from this level. And after that, we do have kind of a double top in here, and eventually we can even fake out that double top and go a bit closer to this zone in here. Okay, that's a bit more bigger picture of what can happen, but before that we may have some kind of reaction, and you may come back a bit more towards this level once again. It's just something to follow. I don't like the PI. I like the weakness that we have seen a little bit in here on the Euro Index, and this level can be quite interesting to pay attention to as well. Now, yes, you may go a bit higher. Okay, you may go a little bit higher in here. This level basically is already taken in there. That's not really many fresh levels in here, to be honest, at least on this 3 minutes time frame, 30 minutes. Yeah, that level looks like it's been taken. In here, it's a question mark. Maybe this size already took that level from there. And yep, not really much going on. So in here, everything has been almost spiked already on the way down, which makes it a bit weak. Yeah, but we'll see. Okay, the approach is not bad, and I'm going to be curious, just even for the start of the week, how price may react from this level. And then again, by Thursday, that's going to be the important one. Okay, Wednesday night, do your analysis, try to see where this Euro Index can be, and this can be one of the clues that can help you to predict maybe what to expect for the ECB press conference, and where maybe the euro is going to go towards to in here. And then this is the other one, right? So the yen index. Okay, so it continues. Plenty of opportunities on the yen pairs. The governor of the Bank of Japan, Ueda, came out again to make some commentary about maybe the potential increase of interest rate again maybe the second part of 2024, maybe looking for a 2% target, or he wants the inflation to go down to 2%. And that may force the Bank of Japan to hike again, something that they changed during the last meeting from minus 0.1 to positive. And yes, this continuation of the dollar yen going higher, it creates a lot of pressure for the Bank of Japan, and it's going to force the hand for them to do something. Okay, so that's the play in here. What happened during this week? That's exactly what you were looking for. Okay, and if you recall, that's exactly what you were looking for. So price was somewhere in here. All right, and you mentioned that this high was an engulf to the upside in here, because it actually broke that structure, but it never really closed, or it never really reacted from this next level, which is exactly where this high reacted from in here. And as soon as this then, as soon as after price reacts from that level, as soon as you basically break below this zone, we have the room, the door open for price to do this. In this particular case, if you just did that, it just moved to downside. Some other times it's going to kind of retest a little bit, and only after that it's going to eventually fill the price. In this case, if you're waiting for price to retest, it never happened. Price just dropped in here, and it went to the target. And the target was, as you could, again, if you see, if you watch my previous stream, you notice that there was this rectangle underneath these lows. It was still fresh and kind of somewhere in there, and that's actually where price reacted from. Again, there was not exactly proper confirmation in here, and we can start noticing that there was a little bit of weakness, but there was no proper confirmation until price just skyrocketed. Again, this was Thursday in the evening, which again, I was not really exactly expecting this to happen on Thursday, but on Friday. And yeah, because of that, I kind of had to change my bias, and it closed the gap again. If the gap to the downside in here was after break of this vote was this level, after we start turning, it's basically back to this structure in here, and that's exactly where this yen index reacted from. So we are within these two levels at this point. Okay, that's where we are looking for. We may have that final move down and eventually fake out these lows. It's possible, but yes, eventually I'm going to continue to look for the yen index to go to the upside, and eventually the individual yen pairs to move to the downside. That's going to still be my position. And yeah, but let's just this one retrace back to this demand zone, and from here we'll see if it's ready to turn, or if we're ready to actually take the lows, and after that maybe make that move. Focus also on the yen dollar as well, to pay attention to see what's going on in there. So yes, that's a little bit of the yen index and the update that we have. I also mentioned that yeah, noticing something like this, and when you have just a small fake out, a kind of a break to the upside, and then price turns, usually that can sign a really interesting engulf upwards. But in this case, this engulf reacted straight away from the valid level that you're looking for. Okay, but it can still be kind of an engulf. Okay, because if price didn't have any intentions of going higher in the future, kind of there would be no need to actually break this highs before moving to downside. Okay, if the intention was to go down, they could have just gone down. Okay, but they actually managed to break this level first before move down, so that usually it's a good indication as an engulf to the upside. But again, as I mentioned, price can indeed first maybe break those lows, and only after that take and kind of go higher and eventually get closer to this upper edge in here. Yeah, so that's something to pay attention to in here. All right, now let's go back to the individual currency pairs and looking at the euro dollar. Euro dollar. Yeah, so yes, we were here, price made that move down at the same time that dollar index actually made that move upwards. And while on the dollar index, I do see it kind of as an engulf upwards. On the dollar, on the euro dollar, I don't really see it as an engulf to the downside. Okay, basically dollar index managed to break below or above the specific high that was created at the same time that euro dollar created this low. Okay, but euro dollar still respected that zone. I did kind of took me some time to adjust to start turning bearish, bullish, and the reason for that is because I was looking for this low to actually fake out a little bit these lows, and after that to move to the upside. Okay, I thought that maybe euro would need to maybe take those lows before that turn, but in reality, especially looking at the daily time frame, this was my mistake. We do have this clear low in here, and that was the zone, the low that actually was there to be faked out. It was not where actually price reacted from, and on the daily it's actually kind of an interesting level. In addition, you have all these left shoulders in here to also to react from. So that was a bit of a mistake. So I was not really ready to start to look for longs when price was in here. I was still looking for that final move down before price will eventually turn, but no, price just turned straight away in here, and since then made all the move to the upside. It paused a little bit in here, so not exactly still bullish in that moment, but as soon as we kind of break above this level, and that was the trigger in there, kind of start turning bullish, and it's free to fill all this price in here. Okay, even eventually as it did, it even went higher and reacted from that zone in there, which is again interesting, and it can be seen also a little bit as an engulf upwards. Even though we kind of reacted from an interesting level, we did manage to break above these levels, which can be seen a little bit as an engulf upwards, just the same way that the dollar index can be, that low can be seen a little bit as an engulf to the downside as well. Then we had NFP, right? And that was again the same story. I was looking for price to be around this level on Friday morning, but no, price actually was somewhere in here, and then it just turned. So in here, I was not really looking for any trades. I didn't really see anything in there to trade NFP. If price was somewhere around this level, yes, I would have been short or looking for shorts in here. It is what it is. Especially with this NFP, because it didn't really manage to give any opportunity to trade just before news, because it literally just turned 1 minute before or 2 minutes before. Okay, it was not one of those situations where price is already reacting from the level, and maybe half an hour, 15 minutes before even the news, price already created the high that is about to create, and then price is just going to drop after that. In this case, no, price actually went higher until kind of just a couple of minutes before until it turned. Same thing with the pound as well. Again, euro dollar, interesting to see if you do manage to break above this level. Just the same thing with the dollar index. If you do manage to break below the low, and if this keeps holding, then it may continue to go and move to the downside. If price starts to break above this level, then maybe you can start looking for a continuation in here, and eventually respect this engulf upwards as well and go higher. Otherwise, we may just go down and maybe challenge a little bit more of these lows in here. So yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be looking for in here. The euro reacted from this upper edge. This is actually kind of a valid zone, but maybe could even fake out eventually these lows and also kind of have some kind of reaction from there as well. Yep, so that's something to bear in mind. Yep, that's definitely something to bear in mind in here. So again, based on how price is going to open tonight, and what is going to be tomorrow around London Open, to see if there's a continuation or just kind of the retracement back to this level in here. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, pound was one of the most kind of predictable ones, and the range on the pound was quite clear as well. Now, these lows, I'm not the biggest fan of these lows on the pound, to be honest. Eventually, I wouldn't mind at all if it just continues to move down and break everything in here. I don't really think these levels is that important anymore. But this was the range, right? So this was the space, this high, this low, and kind of back into this level with this clear demand zone in here that price used for the NFP. There was a clear engulf in here that was a little bit of the bias to look or to be bearish on the pound, kind of bullish a bit maybe on the dollar for the NFP, because there was this clear zone. And again, as I mentioned, this was a bit hard to even trade it because price was just literally going higher until it just 1 minute before that crashes, and I'm not going to really open a trade 1 minute before NFP. This was a nice sell that we got from there after breaking this structure, reacting a little bit from this support resistance, but we never really reacted from this level, which in this case, this can be seen also as an engulf to the upside, just like the euro a little bit as an engulf down, just like dollar index maybe as an engulf to the downside in here. Okay, talk about these highs created on Thursday in there. So again, if you do manage to break above this high, we may go a little bit more. In here, everything looks like it's compressed. Price already reacted a few times from that level, so I'm not sure if it's going to still hold price or not in here on the pound. Otherwise, we may just continue to go a bit more to the upside. So, yep, it's more of the same. Depending on how price may either react from here or then eventually get closer to that level, that's going to be an interesting one to look for. Okay, but again, this one looks like maybe an engulf upwards, and price from here may go and rally from here. Yeah, so that's what we're looking in here. Again, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I wouldn't personally be looking for sells in here. If price just keeps respecting, if price just goes higher from here, I'm not going to be looking for, or I'm not going to be that bearish in there, because price closed the gap. Okay, price closed this gap to the downside, and this one maybe have opened that space to the upside in there. So yeah, maybe a bit more bullish. Yeah. Yep, but it has been finally, again, pound has been a bit tricky for the first couple of months in here, but now personally it's been a bit better and easier to trade. Euro pound, what to say about euro pound? It just continues. Again, the tendency may be to continue to go to the upside. Okay, kind of respected this low. The tendency may be to go and challenge that level. We start creating a lot of compression here. Eventually, you can even just make a move down and then eventually go higher. Again, what to expect from this one, right? So, hasn't really been that tradable these last couple of months, and I'm going to just continue to skip it at this point. Aussie dollar reacted again, fake out slightly this low, maybe reacted to something from there, and since then has been moved to the upside. Hasn't really reacted from the extreme in here. Yes, we did fake out this high, didn't really reacted from there, and you have also a lot of structure in here that eventually could go a bit more to the upside, and then just steamer it also took also these lows in here, so we can eventually go a bit more closer to this level again in here. Okay, so it can go higher, it can react from there, it can go there, so who knows, we'll see what's going to happen in here on the Aussie dollar. It's in the middle, and I need it to go or to get closer to the extremes, then look and see what's going to happen. We did manage to fake out or maybe engulf this low. Yeah, this is a bigger picture where we are at this point. Yeah, let's see what's going to happen in there. On the other Aussie pairs, we have this Euro Aussie, which is finally respected the engulf to downside in here. So respected that level, it moved down and finally broke new lows, and maybe can continue to go a bit more closer to this downside. So to these lows in here. So may respect something in here and resume this move, which may take then Aussie dollar to the upside. That's just something to bear in mind in here. And the pound Aussie as well continue to move to the downside. Okay, so we finally managed to break below all this structure. In here, we had already broken those walls, but finally managed to break below that structure, and yeah, it could continue. It could continue to go a bit more to downside. We do have this zone in here, so yeah, pound Aussie may react a little bit from that level and may resume the move to the downside towards this level in here. So that was another one that we have been following for a while. And then we start getting into the end pairs. And that can be an interesting one. Like last week, I mentioned that there was a potential bigger reversal that would start to happen in here on the Aussie yen. But what I also mentioned in the first place is that we need to break below this level. Okay, we need to break below this low and take out this demand zone from that zone and from there as well. Okay, so that's something that needs to happen. And it hasn't, right? So we did manage to kind of fake out a little bit this level, but price just reacted from this upper edge in there, and it's been going up from since then. And at this point, yes, the extreme in here is still fresh and eventually can be a target. Now, looking to the left side, as we mentioned, price is already reacting or just approached one of those levels that we were looking for. After price broke this level, we're looking for price to fill this range in here. Now, the previous low didn't really reacted properly from what would like to consider kind of a valid or a really important level. Okay, so the previous low kind of reacted a bit from here, but and now the new, not low, sorry, the previous high. And now the new high is reacting from this interesting level in here, which is quite good. I actually like that high. Okay, I like this level. Don't know if I can go into lower time frame. So it's a valid supply level in here, the one that actually managed to break or make decision point to break all these walls in here. So it's definitely a valid level. I cannot go on 30 minutes, just 1 hour. That's maximum I can go in here. Okay, so we had that big move to downside. We managed to break below these lows. We kind of open at this point a little bit the door to go a bit more to the downside. And let's see if this helps, and eventually we have the turn. Okay, so for that to happen, eventually we'll need the yen index to go to the upside to help this Aussie yen to go down. Okay, and of course we need a little bit of the support also of the Aussie. If it's about to move to the downside, then it could support in here. These highs are good, so that's something to pay attention to. It would be nice to see price maybe pausing a little bit in, just underneath that level, and then eventually kind of going there and turning. Right, that would be interesting to see. Yep, did manage to break that level. Price just respected now this level in here. So yeah, it's one of those pairs to pay attention at least this week, to see how price may react around this level. And as we continue to break new highs, if we do break new highs, again, as long as we are in that interesting level in here, can continue to look for more shorts, and then eventually one of the last levels, it would be that one. Okay, this is still kind of a really good level. If you do go above all this structure, and that zone in there can be quite good as well on the on the Aussie yen. But that's more bigger picture stuff. Yeah. Dollar yen. All right, dollar yen. What did you mention? Like, we wanted to see slightly fake out of this level and price to kind of still respect this extreme in here. It didn't just respect the extreme; it went actually straight away to properly test the all-time high in there. The all-time high, I mean this high in here. Yeah, which at this point may make it look like an interesting double top to eventually fake out. Okay, that can be one of the visualizations that you can have in here, or one of the ideas that you can have in here. Price fake out its lows, okay, respected that level, which is basically the next structure that was in here in alignment with this one. It's basically where it reacted from, but it can start being noticed also as an engulf to the downside after price managed to take out this structure in here. But it went higher. It has been at this point kind of a bit in compression. There's maybe something in there one more time just above this highs that this dollar yen can react from. Otherwise, again, we may have that final push upwards, and if that happens, yeah, some starting to see some intervention from the Bank of Japan. It could happen, or don't be surprised if that happens. Because the last thing they want is to continue to see the dollar yen to rally, and yeah, and the yen index to continue to lose their strength in here. So that's definitely something to pay attention to, and it can be again one of those pairs that can provide a great setup in here. So that's something to pay attention to. Euro yen. Yeah, euro yen. Yeah, after this turn in here, beginning of the week, I started to look for sales when price started to get to there. Okay, so we turned in here. I was not really looking for longs just yet in that moment, but I was starting to look for sales as price was getting closer to this zone in here, especially because the approach, it was starting to get quite interesting. Okay, start showing a lot of compression, and you have eventually kind of as a target even something in here could be interesting, or even somewhere underneath just to test this level, just as price did in here. However, for me, I didn't really have that break of a low that I wanted to see. Okay, the price, this low did manage to break below this structure, but you respected straight away that one, and then eventually everything was respected in here. And I would have to actually prefer to see a proper break of this structure in here, start looking for those sells. It didn't really happen. We did have the fake out, which is perfect, right? Fake out above this about top. And after that, kind of price start moving lower. But again, it was missing a little bit that engulf to the downside in here, as I would have liked to see. For example, as it happened on the Europe, on the pound dollar, the trade that we actually took on the same day in here in the evening. And then, as I described, I was not really expecting this big move to downside to happen in that moment. I was more expecting it to happen then on Friday. Yeah, so yeah, now what happened afterwards? Price respected nicely this level, which makes it within this range at this point. This may not be still the final destination. We do have a double top in here, which price eventually can still fake out that level and move lower. We are reacting from a valid level on the lower time frame. Not lower, on the higher time frame on the left side. We are reacting basically from the lower edge of that zone. It's not bad, but price can still go higher. So yep, that's just something to keep an eye on. This is a valid zone as well, and I expect price to get closer to that supply level, and from here we'll see what's going to happen on the euro yen. So that's a little bit of the range that I'm looking for on the euro yen to be trading from for the beginning of this week in here. So that's the zone. Pound yen. Yeah, pound yen it has been quite interesting, right? So we did a full session just covering about this level. We mentioned that this demand zone was still fresh, and price actually ended up reacting from it eventually. This was already an engulf to the upside in there, so that's nice. An engulf to the upside, fake out that level, react from the zone, and move higher. And this is another engulf to the upside, okay? Because price actually broke these highs just before the turn. Okay, again, similar to the euro yen, that's maybe not exactly proper break in here. It's a lot of compression until finally price made that move on Thursday in there. So that's a little bit of the levels that we can look for. Can look a bit higher as well, and hopefully price actually goes a bit higher. Still hasn't really managed to touch exactly that level, but let's see. Okay, so that's another one, another yen pair to pay attention. In a moment also with the yen index. Okay, that again, that's going to be interesting and it's going to provide good opportunities this week. Dollar CAD. Yeah, I haven't really been focused on dollar CAD recently. I mentioned that I wanted to see price breaking away from this level, and we also mentioned there was maybe something in here straight away for price to react from as soon as it took this all these highs in here, and it did. The price just went up, reacted from there, and it starts to move to the downside in here. Okay, so that's a little bit of what we have. Maybe a bit again, there's maybe more room to the upside now after we finally managed to break this level. So let's see again how price may react from here. It's again from the NFP around this demand zone. If you're going to rally and continue to go higher, or you're going to actually start paying attention to these lows in here and eventually try to recover from there. Yeah, so that's dollar CAD. It's tricky. I could see price going higher. I do like the low in here, so bigger picture, yes. Eventually, if price does want to turn, this level in here is one of the zones that I will always be paying attention to in there. So yeah, there's maybe a bit more in there, and then price can just continue to go a bit more to the upside as well. So that's always interesting. And EuroCAD also it reacted perfectly from this demand zone, and since then has turned and it starts moving higher. Again, this Forex has been already an engulf to the upside. So eventually looking for this EuroCAD to continue to get maybe closer to that level. In there, is there anything in here at the highs that we can say maybe look for? Yeah, not really sure. We're just kind of starting to break above this level. Yeah, who knows? Maybe somewhere in there. Aside from that, I think we can continue to move to the upside from where we are in here. Yep, and eventually even these levels and you can continue to keep price higher as well. Yeah, but nice reaction, nice turn, and interesting move on the EuroCAD these last couple of weeks. And pound CAD, which started to turn after price got closer to this level. Okay, so it got closer a little bit to this level. We're bearish. Okay, we've been bearish since price kind of made, especially after price broke that low. We've been quite bearish, and price basically filled all this range in here. Okay, all this compression in here. Price basically filled that space in there. And since then has started to turn. Curious to see how price may react from here, and eventually also I like the highs in there as well. But yeah, it's just something to keep an eye on. And eventually we need to take above these highs in here as well. And dollar franc Swiss. Yeah, dollar franc Swiss was quite interesting. It was really good. It was actually really good. It got closer to that level, and yeah, this was a mistrade for me. Yeah, I was looking for the sell. We actually have the engulf down, and I ended up not executing the trade in there when I actually should have. Yeah, then we had that big turn. Okay, so we started to have, again, we were looking already for sales even the week before that. Price decided to create new highs, went there, it started to show again more weakness in here, and then finally you have this fake out happening. Okay, so that was everything that we're looking for. This is kind of already a break into this compression, so we're looking for price to eventually get closer to here or eventually to there. Okay, and that was actually the target in here. then you have that confirmation, price moves down, and at this point, this level in here can still be quite interesting to look for sales. Okay, there's maybe still fresh orders in there to look for, but price spiked up with some news, CPI in Switzerland, if not mistaken, and kept respecting this high in here. It never really came closer to this level to look for the sell. So neither this high or neither that one as well went all the way in here. It just respected this level. It was quite valid. That was during NFP, and then it turned to the downside and finally almost breaking below this structure in here. Dollar franc Swiss has been quite interesting recently, especially since there was the rate cut decision of again cutting the rates. Basically the first one to do it. And what I mean by that is the correlation between the dollar franc Swiss and dollar index hasn't been that strong recently. Okay, sometimes you see the dollar moving higher and dollar franc Swiss is not really moving higher, maybe actually moving lower. When in theory it should be a bit more similar in here. But yeah, that was a point in there. The interest rate decision that happened with the rate cut, and since then we have seen a little bit of a different kind of move on the franc Swiss in here. And yes, I'm looking for price to eventually fill this range in here. Okay, that totally sense in here for price to make that move in there. Yep, and then also the highs. Okay, now we have all this and eventually the highs in there. It was one of the pairs that we paid quite attention this last week in here. And then gold as well just continues. Okay, just continues to rally. Initially I was actually looking for a potential shorts somewhere around this level. I noticed that gold was printing way too many bullish daily candles in a row, and I did like the compression a little bit that was going on gold. And yes, there was maybe this place in here to look for a trade. Price is still fake out that level. It reacted from there. It never managed to break below it. Okay, it respected it. Therefore, it started looking for longs. Okay, this level needed to be broken for price to start looking for a stronger bearish move in here. It never happened. What happens is the opposite, and then price has respected this level in here quite nicely during the NFP after we do manage to break above this structure. So we have engulf upwards. Perfect reaction from the demand during NFP. Quick move down, move up, and at this point, just let go rally. Okay, don't really try to predict the top. There's no need for that. Absolutely no need whatsoever. Just just keep tracking it until eventually you have maybe a little bit of a reversal in here. If price are already broken some lows, that's quite relevant. Okay, that's something that you want to pay attention to. You want to see lows being broken on the way up, as that shows some weakness. And you want to also start noticing that when price breaks a previous high, it doesn't really go that much further up. It almost starts getting rejected straight away. And then you want to pay attention to the approach in here. Okay, so that's definitely something to look for. And yeah, gold maybe this week going to test this level one more time or somewhere in there and continue to go higher. Who knows where gold's going to stop? No one really knows. And then oil. Oil is another one, right? So again, the geopolitical situation is not the greatest. Okay, there's a lot of conflict in the Middle East, and it looks like it's going to get worse before it gets any better. And we have seen the price of oil increasing, getting closer and closer to the $90 mark in here. We did have also an OPEC meeting. I think it was Wednesday. Again, the agreement was to continue with the 2 million barrels production cut from Russia, Saudi Arabia, and so on. That's a situation that is going on for a year now, when they started to cut the production like that. And yes, we have been bullish. We have been quite bullish on oil since price reacted from this level. So we have been looking for price to make that move, and I think we are getting now closer to a level where you can look for retracement. Okay, that's actually something that I was paying attention to, and I was actually looking for sales on Friday, and during NFP I actually opened a short somewhere in there, end up with a break even. This price was not managing to break below the lows, and yeah, unfortunately for me, I didn't really want this to happen on Friday yet. I wanted for price to actually close to the highs, and then on Monday, tomorrow, maybe to be a good level to look for to short on oil. But this move already happened, so that first initial attempt to look for shorts is gone at this point. Now, depending on how price actually is going to react from, is going to take these lows and go higher to look for more shorts, or are you going to just kind of react from this level and carry on moving higher until eventually you may get closer to something in there. Okay, so we have this level, then eventually can go a bit more to the upside, and then eventually somewhere in there. But I think oil has been compressing quite a lot, and we could have a little bit of a deep retracement before maybe making that continuation of this rally to maybe get to the $90 mark in there. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Okay, this level in here can be quite interesting in there. So yeah, something interesting also like between oil and Brent is that we actually already broken this low on the WTI, but Brent hasn't really managed to break it. Okay, this actually was the trades. Just with this. Yeah, in here price actually hold it. Okay, there's no engulf to the downside in here, so that was another thing that we paid attention to. Because otherwise, if you do actually have the short in here, this may not be the final target. The target it's already kind of below whatever zone it was broken in here. But if this low actually holds, now the kind of the target eventually is going to be somewhere in here. Okay, after you break properly this level, that will be eventually the target in there. But prices continue to move higher, and again similar to the WTI kind of reacting from that zone in there, and yeah, we'll see if eventually we're going to have a little bit of a turn on oil, which can be quite interesting, even if it's just retested towards this level. Yeah, eventually could have a turn like that in here. Yep. Hey, Get. How are you, man? Happy Sunday. Yeah, but we can turn. Okay, we can at this point just fill this range. We already have the reason for me to look for the sell as well. So I shorted. Where did I short? I short somewhere in here. It was actually, I think, the first time that I was in a short on oil, exactly the same time that there was NFP, and I was actually wanted to see if there was any big moves or not, or the spreads would get wider or whatever. But it didn't. Basically, everything else was moving, and oil didn't move at all at that moment, which was interesting. But yeah, I needed this low to be broken to continue to look for eventually the targets and eventually for price to get there. But this low respected the zone precisely, and eventually end up with a break-even trade in there. So that's why I actually moved to break even. Hey Surav, how are you, man? All good? Happy Sunday as well. April 8. is this guy sharing? Yeah. Yeah, oil again is going to be an interesting one. Something else that I was tracking on oil, and again another reason to try to look for those shorts. It was the bullish scenario that we were looking in here. Okay, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again I actually wanted to see this candle to be bullish again. Okay, so I was looking for that sell. I stopped like at this point. I was not really active anymore. This was like 7 p.m. or whatever. I was not really active anymore around this time. But yes, that's why I wanted to continue to see another bullish candle, which it would eventually get me to continue to look for the shorts. I'm still going to look for it eventually. I'm aware that maybe price wants to go a bit higher in here. But so far I do kind of like a little bit the PA that we're starting to get, even as a first target somewhere in there, can be quite interesting depending on how price may react around this level in here. So that's going to be an interesting one also to pay attention to, as we may have a little bit of a correction in here. Yeah, this one also end up negative, bearish. Yep, so that's going to be interesting. This level as well is quite interesting. That's for the future. Maybe price eventually can get there. Yeah, around the $90 mark can be quite interesting. What are you looking for, Surav? Any bias on anything? Any specific pair that you want to look at? Yeah, so again, this week, the indices I think is going to be quite interesting, and you may have maybe some good sells. We'll see S&P, we'll see Dow as well, and NASDAQ with good PA. You can maybe try to sell the highs once again, even though I really wanted to see those lows being taken. FX is a bit tricky, as I mentioned. The situation between the ingouts up and down. Again, the zone on the pound, it looks like maybe price wants to go higher. But I'm not the biggest fan of these lows neither, but this one in here can be looked at as an ingout upwards. In here, this can eventually be just the continuation, and eventually price can go to the upside in there. And this may be the beginning of a new cycle for this month. Which then also most likely euro is going to follow as well, and eventually continue to the upside. This looks like also is an engulf upwards from here, and eventually can go somewhere in there. Again, the zone on the euro, this low looks quite good, which can continue to push price a bit more to the upside in there. Yeah, who knows? We'll see. Let's just get. I only trade GIL on the USD CAD. Yeah, okay. What do you make now of dollar CAD that it broke the highs? Is this an engulf upwards for you? I may start eventually paying attention again to dollar CAD. I haven't really paying attention for a while. Even though the moves have been okay, I didn't really like this French, to be honest. It doesn't really mean much, that level, to be honest. Yeah, it can be just an engulf upwards. Yeah, bullish. Yeah. Again, this level in here, the one from NFP can hold. Let's see what kind of PA we're going to have around this level. Hopefully price doesn't really kind of just retest this level look for more shorts. Hopefully not. Maybe price will just move away from here, and I would like to see some momentum on the dollar CAD, and after we have a little bit of that momentum, then I'll be maybe looking for some sales. This level in here is not bad as well. May have a little bit of a reaction from here, and maybe we can resume to move higher, eventually getting above these highs. Again, we're going to have interest rate decision in Canada as well. That's going to be Wednesday, just after the CPI. So expect a lot of volatility on CAD pairs on that day. Going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. What about crypto? Yeah, crypto is in this range. Okay, so reacted nicely from that level, moving down again. BTC more of the same. Reacted nicely from that level. Then we start being stuck within this range in here. Not really sure about these lows, to be honest. Not really sure if I'm the biggest fan of these lows in here. Yeah, price eventually could go a bit lower, but apparently that's where it stopped. Reacted from that supply, reacted from the demand zone, and keeps pushing higher. There's maybe something in there. There's maybe that extreme a bit more in there as well. But yeah, there's maybe something still in here, which is basically where price reacted. What a perfect reaction. Oh, it's about to react from. Yeah, somewhere around this level. So yeah, that's a bit of BTC. Again, we are within this range, and eventually expecting price to go higher again. We are getting into this halving, right? It's going to be now in April. Let's see what's going to be the effect that's going to have, or the consequence that's going to have on BTC. The expectation may still be to go higher. Yep, that's going to be interesting. Because we haven't really managed to break this low, I haven't turned bearish yet in here. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of these ones, but even if we break below these lows, we may just stay within this range still. Okay, so I haven't really turned bearish that much in this point. Ethereum, we did manage to break below those lows, but we reacted straight away into kind of a valid level, and since then they're kind of trading just within this new range in here, and yeah, not really much to say, to be honest. If we get close to the highs, there's maybe something in there, but this one just reacted from the lower edge of this level. There's maybe something at the top, but now we have way too many highs in here, so that may not be that valid anymore, even though there's that level. That's okay. And in here, yeah, may have that level in there to look for. Price reacted perfectly from this level after we broke to the upside. Reacted perfectly from this left shoulder. Fair enough, and maybe have that demand zone in here to look for. Maybe you have this one as well. Price can go maybe higher from here. Otherwise, may have everything compressed. Price can go there. Solana was a bit more bearish on Solana. Price reacted really nicely from that level. I still like this somewhere in here quite a lot, eventually for potential move higher, or eventually as a target for this move to the downside. In here, we did manage to break. We had broken below this low. Then we managed again to break below those lows, even though we kind of reacted from this demand zone, but that could eventually go and move further down. Now, price still respected underneath, above, I mean, this level in here. That's okay. Not the biggest fan of this low anymore, and I would actually like eventually this Solana to get close to this 155. mark in here. That's actually where I would like to see it. This value in here needs to hold at this point, otherwise we may go all the way and challenge this highs once again. So it would be nice if this value actually could hold at this point. We may fake out these highs. And 1 second. Yeah, that's nice. We could fake out. We can maybe even take this void from here. Take it, there's a little bit, go higher, and then it's free to go down. That would be ideal. Otherwise, price may just react from something in there, and it may go down from here, picking everything in there, and yeah, who knows what's going to happen in there. But yeah, so when it looks like a bit more bearish to me, to be honest. Yeah, that's it basically, guys. I'm really curious to see how price is going to open tonight, to see if it's going to respect its demand zone or not on the dollar index, and the same with the supplies on the pound and the euro. And depending on what price is going to do, then make adjustments. That's why sometimes it's a bit tricky just to do analysis, especially if you're looking at the war time frame, doing analysis over the weekend, because the way price may open on Monday or tonight, it just invalidates everything that you looked for in here. Yeah, bigger picture. Again, space between both levels here and there, which is nice. All right, did you guys do your trading journal? Did you guys review your week? Did you guys have a good week? That's part of trading as well. It's not analysis, as you know. Yeah, I finally started to use the trading journal that I created. I'm just trying to still see if everything is okay. I started to use it now in April. I'm really happy about it, to be honest. It's well structured. It's easier to track the stuff, which I'm kind of happy with it. Eventually we're going to know more about it, and I'm going to share more information about it as well. But yeah, so far so good. In here it was a positive week, so that's also great. But in terms of my performance, it was, what was my metric? Performance efficiency, it was 85.5 out of 100. And the outcome efficacy, it was actually 62 out of 100. And that's mostly also because of the mistrade on dollar franc Swiss. Yeah, that one was a big one. It was a good trade that I didn't really execute it, but that counts as on the mistrades. Yep, I did 87% of my habits. Whatever I track as habits, that's good. It's not bad. Yeah, I need to define my new goals as well for next week. I'm quite happy about it. Yep. I would like to know, guys, if you do have any metrics that you track in terms of performance efficiency or process oriented and not just outcome. That would be the question. If you do that or not. Yeah. All right. Any final questions, guys? Wrap up the session. Side stretcher. Emotional state. Was that just a comment, or is there a question, Saraf? Yeah, Tavo, I'm going to. I think with you guys, I'm going to share it this week. I'm going to do a lot of the small tutorials, and then we're going to have a big session to track. But I'm quite happy, to be honest. I noticed a few mistakes that kind of, not mistakes, a few bugs that I had to overcorrect. So this week, as I'm doing it, I'm also kind of small updates in there, which I think is normal. And maybe when you guys start to use it, you're going to find out some others that maybe I haven't noticed, and I'll need to keep updating that part. It's totally okay. But yeah, I'm ready to share with you guys this week. As long as it's, yeah, there's no bugs in between with Notion as well. And Saurabh, you mentioned emotional state. So you do track that. So you track that when you're journaling. Was that what you wanted to say, Saurabh? That during while we are journaling, you write some notes about emotional state? When you used to journal, if you're not journaling anymore. Why do people stop journaling? Yeah, but one of the parts with the trading journal that I'm creating is, because that's important, right? To write down some notes, to write down, maybe to revise your emotions by writing it, taking just express how was your day. That's important. But what I try to do is actually to start using as a metric as well. Okay, because when you're writing down, just sharing your emotions, like, I don't know, I was on tilt, like I didn't trade as good, I overtrade, or I was revenge trading, whatever, right? By the end, the reality is, by the end of that journal that you did, you don't have a grade in there, right? So you may have realized that you did a mistake, but you don't really have a grade to actually then understand, or kind of after a few consecutive days, after a week, after a month, to actually see how much that part is actually affecting your trading. You have kind of an idea, but not a real number, and that's why numbers is they're important. Like it's like you are not tracking your P&L. You think that you are actually maybe trading well because maybe the last few trades were quite good, but then you don't really know how much money you are making it, right? And that's basically what I try to create in here. Okay, got it. You were doing it in the past. Now you improve it. Okay, got it. Yes, I'm glad that you journal every day. That's good. Yeah, so that's the point. Yeah, I'm looking again. I'm looking forward. I'm going to share. I'm going to revisit eventually the journal. Hopefully by to the public by the end of this month. Any final questions? All good? All right. So we'll see you next week for the live stream, and I will also try to start sharing more content. Need to start sharing more content, making more videos. Anyone that is still new, please subscribe to the channel. Help me to get 1,000 subs. That's the goal for now, until the end of maybe next 2 months. While I'm going to be creating more content as well. I want to try to get to that 1,000 mark. And again, I'm going to creating more content as well, and sharing different type of content as well, which is going to be quite interesting. Thank you, Saurabh, Tovu. get there. And Ramat, thank you so much, guys, and anyone else that watched the stream. Stay consistent, stay disciplined as well. Again, the opportunities, I think the market at this point is at a really good stage. I think there's going to be plenty of good opportunities for this month, and maybe even for the next month until summertime. Then who knows where we're going to be by summertime. But this month's going to be quite interesting. I think there's a little bit of an indecision between buyers and sellers, especially on the indices. If we are going to kind of get into a small bearish move or not, and that can also kind of put a little bit indecision on the dollar. Commodities, again, it's quite crazy. What's going on with gold? Who knows until where gold's going to go to, and yeah, and the other ones as well with oil in the mix, which continues to be quite volatile. So yeah, it's just about being focused, dude. Follow your process, and I think there's plenty of opportunities. There's no need to feel FOMO. There's always the next trade, the next day to trade. So yeah, I'll see you guys. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.